who has experienced the fear and agony of thinking that my voice is disappearing.
It just got really bad lately. It chokes up. My voice chokes up. I can't breathe. I feel like I'm running out of air.
I didn't think that it could be so simple, but it was.
When the sunlight strikes raindrops in the air, they act like a prism and form a rainbow. When the sunlight strikes raindrops in the air, they act like a prism and form a rainbow.
Gradually through a period of a year, it kept getting progressively worse where within a matter of days it would occur.
This is the patient's recovered voice. The mastoid muscle.
And then I'd go in and start talking to my boss, and at the end of like a sentence, it would start dropping. And he'd say, what's wrong with your voice? And I'd say, I don't know.
I thought, what's happened? What have I done to myself? I know no one out there has this horrible problem I've got. But I found out there's an awful lot of people walking around out there in this world that have the spastic dysphonia.
And they say that it's because some motor signal from the brain is overamped and it tightens up the vocal cords.
It's pretty tragic, isn't it? Pretty tragic sound, and it's quite different now.
The last time he injected me with half a unit each in Botox, I completely lost my voice for 6 weeks. I was incapacitated. It was a complete roller coaster going through that, you know, but that's the only treatment that they told me was available, and that I would be getting these injections for the rest of my life.
Couldn't think of any name, and my sister and I were joking around about how many people call the rabbit's cocktail, and I just said, oh yeah, wouldn't that be fun if I called it Q-tip? So we just called it Q-tip.
Can you talk with the rabbit again?
Hi Q-tip, how are you? Do you want to hop around today? Are you thirsty? Why did you bite my shoe?
Do you realize you changed your voice when you talk to the rabbit?
Yes. I talked higher.
Who diagnosed it?
Scripps Hospital in La Jolla. Probably about a year and a half ago. They told me that it was neurological and I was born with it.
Other than the one time from Bryn where I had 6 months good voice, nothing.
I believe that spasmodic dysphonia is curable.
According to legend, a boiling pot of gold at one end. People look, but no one ever finds it. I've been here for the past 10 days trying to find a teaching position for the next academic year.
Jack fell down, broke his crown.
They didn't know what to do because they couldn't get me out of it. So eventually I went to other doctors who told me I had spasmodic dysphonia.
Trying to get help is very difficult because you can't communicate the problem or just your trials. They want you to go to psychiatrists, and how are you supposed to go to psychiatrists when you can't speak?
Well, and then he says, well, how long ago did you see Dr. Cooper? And I went, oh my God, it's been 6 years. It'll be 6 years in June.
As I go through the day, even right now, I'm tending to raise my voice and go in the upper register.
You remember that voice?
I remember it.
Did you like it?
I didn't like it then, didn't like it now.
That's to help. And after a while, I regained my voice, not 100%, but much better than it had been. And after about 2 years, it started to, again, got worse and worse.
I hope that by sharing, others too will find new hope for a life that allows them that greatest gift that God has given us, the gift that makes us human, that gift we call communication.
I'll ask you the question about the...
We're back in studio. Dr. John Curtis is always surprised at what I tell him, what's going on. I think a nationally syndicated writer, he's always boggled of mind, and he has a great mind, but he's boggled hearing what I tell him.
One of the things is that physicians and the drug company, Allergan, claims that that this treatment is 99% effective.
Well, the medical people have claimed that.
So why is it that if it's 99% effective, you've got people reporting to you that maybe 1 out of 30 or 1 out of 45 shots worked?
Or 50.
That doesn't sound like 99%.
Or 19.
That sounds like 2%.
But the statement is valid in this sense, and that's where it's misleading to the public. They put in Botox, botulinum toxin, Bo for botulinum and tox for toxin. It's, it paralyzes muscles. It's used for faces, but it's used in a different context. For the voice, they're maintaining it's a neurological problem. So the face is a problem where they don't have to do anything for themselves. With spasmodic dysphonia, they're misusing the voice. It's not a neurological problem from my experience of over 35 years dealing with this problem and helping to cure it. Why do they say in medicine it's 99% effective? Because when they Botox botulinum toxin, the vocal cords, what happens is they paralyze the vocal cords, paralyze. So the spasms which occur in nearly all the patients, not all, nearly all, are paralyzed. Therefore, the spasms stop. Therefore, in that context, Botox is 99% effective. But now about the voice.
Does it return the voice?
No, it doesn't.
To a normal, clear-sounding voice?
No, basically not. And there's a roller coaster ride, and the voice goes out, and the spasms come back. You get a Botox shot, the voice goes out, the spasms are gone for a short while. You have a voice. If you have a good voice or a normal voice, you're lucky. It's usually a partial voice. And those times when it's effective for you with Botox, I tell patients, just go on if you're happy with it. I'm not opposed to Botox for spasmodic dysphonia if it works for you, but I think there's a need for choice because patients who take Botox shots and get no effects, no results, and no give back should be allowed choice, and they're not allowed choice. That's the whole issue of what I'm talking about. Not that Botox should be stopped or that surgery should not be done, but that patients with spasmodic dysphonia should know that there are cures by another modality, another approach called direct voice rehabilitation, all natural by what I've done, and that these cures are documented.
Now, one of the things that I think that you do that I think is somewhat novel in your industry is that you actually listen to the patient's voice.
Yes, I'm tuned to the voice. The ear, the clinical ear, is key to helping those with a voice problem of any kind to improve and to cure their condition.
So is it very complicated and a long, extensive process to diagnose SD?
No, it takes about 3 to 5 seconds on a slow day, especially on the phone. You can hear it. Herb Dito up in San Francisco, a famed ear, nose, and throat doctor, says it's quick. You just listen to them on the phone. But what's ironical is that people diagnosing SD don't subject their SD patients, if they think it's SD, to calling in and talking with them by phone or using a phone in the office.
Why do they typically put the patient through a very long, extensive phonatory and fiber optic sort of analysis to ascertain the diagnosis of
because
SD when it can be obtained in a matter of seconds?
Because the ear, nose, and throat doctors are not clinically trained to listen to voices, so they don't know what to listen for. And speech pathologists also lack the clinical ear, basically, from my experience with them.
My understanding.
So they don't know how to. They don't know what to listen for.
But in the analysis that they're doing, and you know, there's certain individuals like Bruce Garrett at UCLA or Michael Rolnick who are specialized in looking at vocal cords. What is the value of looking at a vocal cord rather than listening to the voice?
They have their own modality and their own aspect of what is important. The medical field, as you know, you're the co-author of, what is the title of our book?
It's Curing Hopeless Voices.
And what's the rest of the presentation? The strangled voice, spasmodic dysphonia.
Well, it's about the strangled voice.
We discussed the fact that the medical people are trained to look at vocal cords, not listen to vocal cords, because they're not interested in developing their own clinical ear to decide what is wrong with the voice. That is what I'm doing. But that's what's separating me from them.
Isn't that almost the equivalent of going to an ophthalmologist and having him listen to your eyeball? How do you listen? How do you diagnose a visual problem by listening to an eyeball? But isn't that what they're really doing in the field of ENT or audiology, what value is there to looking at a vocal cord when you can listen to the voice and tell? And I've said this to Dr. Ludlow. She said to me, your methodology, Dr. Cooper's methodology, is unsound.
Who is
It's not
Dr.
scientific.
Ludlow?
She's the chairperson of head and neck or vocal
she's
at the National Institutes of Health. She's
Yeah.
a leading researcher in the field.
And she says there are no
neurological
spasmodic
diseases.
dysphonia. It's a neurological problem.
But here's the point. You wouldn't go to your ophthalmologist and have him listen to your eyeball. Why do they go to a person with a voice disorder and look at the voice? Looking at the voice, it's a non sequitur. You have to listen to the voice to determine the before and after. And I told Dr. Ludlow, Dr. Cooper has before reproductions of the voice that are done. He didn't make them up. They're done with voice recordings. And he's got after treatment voice recordings.
What we heard today.
Yes. Isn't that the best method in the area of voice? He says, no, you must look at the voice. I said, what is it about these people that think that they're going to find something looking at the voice?
They can't find anything. There's nothing wrong with the vocal cords.
She said that they're now looking at the brains of
Yes, I know.
patients with this.
The next step is they want to do brain surgery, I fear. But they're on the wrong road. They're well-intentioned, they're humane, they're conscientious. They're on the wrong road. And I said on a previous program, in 1345, when the rage of the Black Plague was about, the French king asked his 3 leading physicians to tell him what the cause of the Black Plague was. Do you know the story now? Do you want to tell it?
I know. It's something about the alignment of the stars.
No. He asked them to tell him what was the cause of the Black Plague, and they said, my liege, may I retire? And the king granted their request. They came back and told him the cause of the Black Plague that had killed 25 million people at that time in Western Europe was due to the fact that the stars were coming together in the galaxy. Now, it wasn't until 1900, approximately, that 2 French physicians in the Louis Pasteur Institute in Paris figured out the rats had done it. Now, it only took them 550 years to figure out what the medical cause of the Black Plague was. Only 550. The medical community today does not have one single cure in medicine dating back to 1871 by Ludwig Trog, who first described spasmodic dysphonia as nervous hoarseness. They've never had one single cure of the spasmodic dysphonic condition in medicine since that time. What does that say about the medical community? Are they back at the point where the French king is asking his 3 leading physicians what the cause of the Black Plague is? Now, I have on file an innocent throat doctor, a well-known doctor, who wrote a prescription to a person who had spasmodic dysphonia: chew on a golf ball. Today's therapy is out to lunch, in my opinion. They're telling them to drink lots of water. That's the cause of spasmodic dysphonia. Water, if you drink, you cannot touch the vocal cords. You're on the floor coughing and spasm. What has water to do with the cause of spasmodic dysphonia? I have no idea. They tell them to talk on H words. Talk on H words.
I've often wondered why that. You hear people who are having trouble with their voice or they're coughing up phlegm, and then they're told to drink water. But isn't it true that the vocal cords are hermetically sealed from the esophagus? So why is it that the water
It's not that the water going down to the level of the vocal cords would get you in spasms. I'm Mort Cooper. What is the title of this program?
This is Killing the Cure.
Yes, I report cures, so they make me the enemy of the people. I hope I'm not. Thank you very much for joining with me. Your name is?
John Curtis.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye. John, this whole thing doesn't add up.
I think it's so funny that when I asked Ludlow, I said, why do you believe that his methodology is unsound? What value is there to looking at the vocal cords?
They are taken with high tech. High tech does not cure spasmodic dysphonia. It has never cured spasmodic dysphonia. We talk about that in the book. The public is unaware, the medical community is unaware, and the problem is that they're on the wrong road.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I know we're still on there. Yeah, but the thing is that's so troubling is you can't look at a vocal cord and infer from that somebody's voice.
There